You have an existing Kafka cluster set up in your infrastructure today, and you want to do one thing with it. You want to be able to take the data, the records from those Kafka topics, and then make them available immediately to in-target devices such as web browsers and mobile phones. You can do this. We've made it possible by creating a PubNub Kafka Connect. Using the PubNub APIs, we're able to leverage Kafka Connect, which is a framework that's developed specifically for this purpose. We built a sync connector that delivers data from Kafka topics to secondary systems. You can do this to Elastic and Hadoop. You can also do this to any kind of system, like PubNub, for example, which is going to be able to take that data from your Kafka topics and then deliver that data in real time to in-target devices like a web browser. This way, all you need to do whenever you want to send a notification or a message to a web browser or a mobile phone, you just write to your event bus, your Kafka channel, your Kafka topics. Anything written to those topics will then be immediately copied over and delivered to your in-target devices. All right, let's set it up. We'll be able to set up our Kafka cluster to be able to copy the data, the records from the topics, over to your in-target device, such as a web browser or a mobile phone. We're going to set it up. It's fairly straightforward. Essentially, all we have to do is we already have our Kafka cluster up and running. And then using Kafka Connect, we will leverage the PubNub Kafka Connect sync connector and configure it to monitor topics on Kafka to be copied over to a PubNub channel. And then any devices connected or subscribed to that channel, such as a web browser, using the PubNub JavaScript SDK, those devices will immediately receive those messages, those records from Kafka topics over to a PubNub channel. For demonstration purposes, we've included an entire Kafka cluster all in a single Docker Compose file. It includes everything you need to get your Docker, the Compose YAML files all ready, set up, and configured with various needs for you need the Kafka. Of course, you need the broker and the cluster itself. Then you need to have Kafka Connect up and running. And we've gone a step further. We've included a producer that automatically produces data into a topic on your Kafka cluster, your locally running version. This is for testing purposes. So once we run Docker Compose up, when we run that command, it will boot these images into your on your local system. And then it will begin running this in a loop to produce messages into your local running Kafka brokers. So what we'll want to do is clone this repository onto our local system so we can run the command. So run git clone. We'll clone this repository. We'll go to the directory where the repository is cloned, and then we type docker compose up, and it will begin doing all the work needed to get it running locally on your system. This will take a little while. Okay, Kafka is pretty, there's a lot to Kafka itself, so it takes a little while to get it up and running on your system. So give it a few moments here. All right, so we see here that it's doing more work than we're normally used to seeing. In this case, it's also building the PubNub Kafka sync connector. We included an image that would build the Maven package. This makes it simple for when you're ready to start running this connector directly into your Kafka Connect using the Kafka Connect framework. It'll run tests and build the package, so that way it's quickly and easily importable. Ooh, there it goes. There's the package right there. It built it. Okay, we finished building. The connector's up and running. Note that this did take a while. It did take a while, several minutes. So it's sort of start it up and go do something else for a little while type situation. But once it's up and running, which it's not yet, it's still doing things. We'll see. Once it's fully ready, we'll see one of the containers, which is the test data container. It'll start emitting events or records onto the Kafka topic. And here we go. All right. So good news. We have our events or records being emitted onto Kafka right now, this very moment. It's a very simple message. It just it's a simple object with the word timestamp and the current timestamp. That's all it is. That's all the record has. Very simple and straightforward. Every few seconds it will do this. Now we can move on to the next step. And just so we're covering to see what happened here, we launched ourselves a local running Kafka cluster. We have the Kafka Connect framework up and running as well. We had a builder image that built our connector package, so that way it's easily imported into Kafka Connect. We have a producer image also running, which is our test data, which is the timestamp information that we were looking at here. So you got the timestamps running. This is where that data is being emitted from. And then we have a consumer that's running on another image, and it's also connecting into the Kafka topic, so that way we can see that Kafka itself is doing what it needs to do. It's sending and receiving the data. Normally on your infrastructure, you probably already have Kafka set up, so you won't need to do a lot of these steps. You may also have Kafka Connect up and running. If you do not have the framework for Kafka Connect up and running, you can also add that in as well, because this is required. The framework is needed in order to run a Kafka connector, which is what we'll do next. We will then enable the connector, the PubNub connector, so that way data sent onto Kafka topics will be copied over to PubNub channels. Now we can deploy the sync connector. The sync connector is what is going to be that bridge running on the Kafka Connect framework between the Kafka topics and the records in those topics over to your mobile devices and your web browsers that need to receive this data in real time. And they make it really simple. All you need is the connector package information, which is in this PubNub sync connector JSON file. And then you will post this to Kafka Connect, where Kafka Connect is running, the Kafka Connect framework. And this will be a simple one-time command that you can use. So if we open up the file, the JSON file, which describes what you want to have copied over to devices. And you can use a regular expression pattern to cover all topics that match a certain pattern. You can also just use a list of topics directly. You also need your PubNub API key information here. And this is what's going to be used to deliver the end result to your target devices. So you'll put your API keys here, including the secret key, which will be a signature that can be verified on our systems, which is a common industry standard. When issuing API calls, you include a signature. This will be used to validate and verify that the source data is authentic and it came from you. Otherwise, these are the only fields that you really need to configure. Once you have your API keys set up, you can set your topics and your patterns, like pubnub.star, right? That could be another pattern that's being used. So what we want to do is copy this command here and then just run it directly. That's it, it's running. That was super easy. Okay, so now we can validate this. We can validate that it's running by, there is a next step down here where we can validate the messages are being delivered to a web browser device. So we'll click this link here and it brings us over here. And as you can see, we've now got, we were connected and we are receiving the events immediately, the moment that they show up. Let's see if we can do a side-by-side really quick. All right, here we go. We can see as messages are being put onto Kafka topic, it is immediately, look how fast that is. You cannot see, it's imperceptible. I can't tell. It's so fast. That's amazing. So the data is copied immediately the moment that it reaches your topic on your Kafka broker. It's going to copy that data using the Kafka Connect framework over to the PubNub infrastructure, which will be responsible for reliably delivering those messages to your end target devices, like a web browser, and it could be a mobile device as well. And when you're ready to complete the test, you can undeploy the connector by running this command. We just copy this really quick. The connector is now uninstalled, and we can see it is no longer sending data over to the PubNub system. It's, let's see here, it's clear. Yeah, and our screen is clear. We won't receive any more data. You can also build a Kafka Connect connector really easily using the Maven build command. Just make sure that you have all the dependencies installed, such as Java 11 or greater, and the Maven, a new version of Maven as well. And then it's as simple as running mvn clean package. So we'll do that really quick. We'll copy this command and we'll run it locally on our system. Here we go. And what this will do is it will run all of the tests that are associated with the package, and it will compile a couple of nice packages for us, including a jar file and a zip file. And this is what's going to be used in order to pass that over to Kafka Connect framework, so that way it can boot up the sync connector, and it will be able to start immediately copying data from the configured topics that you have directly over to your in-target devices like a web browser. So once you already have the package built, you can use the same command as we did earlier and just simply copy this deploy command to the Kafka Connect framework. We will copy that, then we'll run it, and immediately it brings that connector directly into the Kafka Connect framework. It'll connect to those topics. Any new data going forward that is sent onto those topics will then be immediately copied over to your in-target devices that are listening on those PubNub channels. Yep, and just to validate that it's running, we have our web browser here. We're receiving the events immediately the moment that they are put into your Kafka channel, your Kafka topics. And that's it. It's super easy. And we can undeploy the connector again by just running a curl with the delete. So just before I run the delete, you can see here we've got our local running Kafka, and it says we also have a log line in the connect that says that the data was successfully delivered over to PubNub. And as soon as we click the run the delete command, it'll confirm that it's deleted. And going forward, you will no longer see those log messages saying that, hey, the data has been sent over to PubNub because you've turned it off. So we did it. We were successful. We were able to get our PubNub Kafka Connect set up and running on our Kafka Connect framework, connecting to our locally running Kafka cluster. Of course, there can be challenges along the way. Setups are different and there are a variety of configurations. So definitely reach out to us. Head over to support.pubnub.com. Click on submit a request here. Click that button and then you'll be able to get our access to support immediately. This will be great if you need any help or assistance, and we'll be happy to help.